This program is intended for intelligent audiences only. It may help recover cognitive thinking and intelligence instead of ignorance and false hope. Christian viewer discretion is advised.
Pope Benedict XVI has released a letter apologizing for years of physical and sexual abuse suffered by Irish children at the hands of priests. The 7-page letter, published in Rome Saturday, has various sections addressed to the victims, their parents, the abusers, church leaders and the Irish faithful as a whole. The letter, to be read at Sunday Mass, rebukes church leaders for grave errors of judgment by failing to respond adequately to allegations of abuse. Your trust has been betrayed and your dignity has been violated, the Pope told victims. I am truly sorry. I know that nothing can undo the wrong you have endured. The Pope said he felt shame and remorse over what the victims have endured and praised their courage in speaking out about their abuse. He also acknowledged that in many cases, no one listened to their complaints. You have suffered grievously and I am truly sorry, he said. Benedict called the abuse carried out by priests sinful and criminal. He said those responsible must answer for their acts before God and before properly constituted tribunals. He said many factors gave rise to the problem, including insufficient human, moral, intellectual and spiritual formation in seminaries and novitiates, a tendency in society to favor the clergy, and a misplaced concern for the reputation of the Church and the avoidance of scandal. Today is a very historical day for the Catholics of Ireland, said Cardinal Sean Brady, the top cardinal in Ireland who himself is under fire for not reporting a notorious abuser to police. In the name of the Church, Pope Benedict openly expresses the shame and remorse that we all feel about the abuse that has occurred, said Cardinal Brady, who read the letter Saturday to worshippers at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Armagh, in Northern Ireland. 1 in 4, the victims group, said a new church leadership is necessary in Ireland for the Church to regain its credibility. In relation to the Irish bishops, the Pope acknowledges their failings, but situates them in failures to adhere to canon law, the group said. There is no appreciation that the law of the land supersedes canon law, and that the Catholic bishops, like any other citizens, are obliged to abide by Irish law. 3 Irish government-ordered investigations published from 2005 to 2009 have documented how thousands of Irish children suffered rape, molestation and other abuse by priests in their parishes and by nuns and brothers in boarding schools and orphanages. Irish bishops did not report a single case to police until 1996, after victims began to sue the Church. Pope Benedict has said he is sorry for the physical and sexual abuse and deplorable conduct at Catholic Church-run Canadian residential schools. The Vatican says the pontiff expressed his sorrow and emphasized that acts of abuse cannot be tolerated at a meeting Wednesday with representatives of Native Canadians. Given the sufferings that some Indigenous children experienced in the Canadian residential school system, the Holy Father expressed his sorrow at the anguish caused by the deplorable conduct of some members of the Church and he offered his sympathy and prayerful solidarity, a statement from the Vatican said. Archbishop Gerard Petipus of the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops, who attended Wednesday's meeting, says it was an important moment. Until today, the Church, as a whole, had never apologized for the abuse that Aboriginal students suffered at the hands of Catholic missionary congregations. What we've been trying to do is to bring about healing and reconciliation between the Church, the Government of Canada and our First Nations people, he told Canada, and shortly after the meeting, there was a feeling that despite the apologies that were offered by the oblates and some bishops, that the Catholic Church, as a whole, has not recognized the part that we played. As a gesture of reconciliation, it was important to hear from the one person who does speak for the Catholic Church around the world, to hear him say, "I am sorry. I feel for what you people have suffered. We hope that we can turn the page and move toward a better future together." Chief Edward John of the Glaston First Nations says he hopes the apology will help many people move forward. We heard the Prime Minister's apology a year ago in June. And today, to listen to the Holy Father explain his profound sorrow and sadness and to express that there was no room for this sort of abuse to take place in the residential schools, that is an emotional barrier that now has been lifted for many people, he said. Phil Thornton, National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, said he appreciated the apology from the Church. "I think His Holiness understands the pain that was endured by so many, and I heard him say that it caused him great anguish," said Thornton, who attended the meetings on Wednesday. "I also heard His Holiness say that the abuse of the nature that was inflicted on us has no place in the Church. It's intolerable and it caused him great anguish. What I heard," Thornton added, "it gives me comfort." More than 150,000 native children were forced to attend the schools from the 19th century until the 1970s. It was part of an effort to remove them from the influence of their homes and culture and assimilate the children into Canadian society. The Canadian government has admitted that physical and sexual abuse in the schools was rampant. Many students recall being beaten for speaking their native languages and losing touch with their parents. Prime Minister Stephen Harper issued a formal apology in Parliament last year, calling the treatment of children at the schools a sad chapter in the country's history. He said the policy of forced assimilation was wrong, caused great harm, and had no place in the country. Canada has also offered compensation, as part of a lawsuit settlement between the government, churches and surviving students.